Would you believe that one woman escaped slavery and crossed an entire region of America with the help of a single wild fruit? In the fall of 1849, Harriet Tubman fled slavery in Maryland and began moving north toward freedom. She traveled mostly at night, hiding during the day, following rivers and forest edges where she could remain unseen. There were no supply lines and no certainty. When carried food ran out, survival depended on whatever the land was willing to give. Along those quiet routes, paths that would later be known as the Underground Railroad, grew a fruit that history rarely mentions: pawpaw. It thrived near water and at the edges of forests, exactly where someone traveling in secrecy would pass. For a brief window of 3 weeks each September, pawpaw trees dropped heavy green fruit onto the forest floor, offering calories, nourishment, and a reason to keep going when everything else was gone. Today, few Americans recognize it. Yet pawpaw is the largest edible fruit native to North America. Its flavor is unexpected, often compared to a blend of mango, banana, and pineapple. Its texture is soft and custard-like, dissolving on the tongue. Nutritionally, it surpasses many modern supermarket fruits, delivering more energy and minerals than foods that now travel thousands of miles to reach a plate. Welcome to nature's hidden legacy, where the secrets of nature are revealed. Today, pawpaw is almost completely absent from American grocery stores. You won't find it stacked beside apples, shipped in from overseas, or displayed year-round under bright lights. For most Americans, pawpaw is not a fruit they rejected. It is a fruit they were never offered. This absence is often explained by convenient assumptions, but most of them are wrong. Pawpaw did not disappear because it can't grow in the United States. It grows wild across at least 26 states, from Florida north into Ontario, and west from Nebraska to New York. It is not rare, and it is not foreign. It also did not vanish because it tastes bad. In fact, most people who try pawpaw for the first time describe it as one of the best fruits they have ever eaten: rich, sweet, and unexpectedly complex. The real reason pawpaw disappeared has nothing to do with flavor or geography. It traces back to a single technological shift in the 1940s, one that permanently reshaped the American food system. When refrigeration became the standard, pawpaw didn't become inferior. It became obsolete. Long before pawpaw disappeared from American life, it was deeply woven into the continent's food systems. For thousands of years, it served as a staple for dozens of indigenous nations across eastern North America. Among the Shawnee, the fruit was so important that it had its own named month in their seasonal calendar. Its original name, azaman, comes from the Powhatan language, later adopted by European botanists as the scientific name Asamina. Archaeology confirms this deep history. Pawpaw seeds nearly 8,000 years old have been found in Russell Cave in Alabama, evidence of long-term, intentional use. This was not simple foraging. Indigenous communities actively managed pawpaw, spreading it, protecting productive trees, and selecting the best fruit near villages and travel routes. When Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto passed through the southeast in 1541, his expedition recorded managed pawpaw groves, clear proof of indigenous agriculture, even if it didn't resemble European fields. European settlers quickly embraced the fruit. Pawpaw was abundant, free, and thrived in shaded, fertile soils where many European fruit trees struggled. George Washington reportedly enjoyed pawpaw chilled as a dessert at Mount Vernon. Thomas Jefferson planted it at Monticello and listed it among the fruits he deliberately cultivated. Pawpaw also played a role in exploration. In 1806, during food shortages in present-day Missouri, the Lewis and Clark expedition survived for days on pawpaw alone. William Clark noted in his journal that they lived very well on the pawpaws. Nutritionally, this reliance was justified. Per 100 grams, pawpaw contains roughly 3 times the vitamin C of apples, twice that of bananas, 10 times the calcium, and up to 70 times the iron. It provides all 9 essential amino acids and, according to research at Kentucky State University, contains a healthier fat profile than bananas, with about 40% monounsaturated fats. Its tissues also produce acetogenins with documented anti-cancer potential in laboratory studies, while its leaves and bark act as natural insect repellents. Through the Civil War, the Great Depression, and the Underground Railroad, pawpaw functioned as a quiet survival code embedded in the American landscape, feeding soldiers, families, and people moving toward freedom when systems failed. The decisive moment in pawpaw's disappearance did not come from farms or markets, but from technology. In 1938, an American inventor named Frederick McKinley Jones developed a reliable mobile refrigeration unit that could be mounted on trucks. Before this breakthrough, cold transport relied on melting ice, inefficient, unpredictable, and limited in range. As a result, food systems were largely local by necessity. Jones's invention changed that permanently. Refrigerated trucks could now maintain stable temperatures for days. Perishable food was no longer bound to place or season. In the 1940s, commercial refrigerated containers became widespread. In the 1950s, standardized refrigerated railcars followed. By the 1960s, the cold chain had become the backbone of American food distribution. For consumers, the benefits were undeniable. Grocery stores could now offer fresh oranges from Florida in December, vegetables from California in February, and strawberries from Chile in January. Seasonality faded, replaced by consistency and year-round abundance. But the cold chain imposed strict requirements. To survive this system, fruit needed a minimum shelf life of 7 days, ideally 14. Apples could last 2 to 4 weeks. Oranges, 3 to 8 weeks. Bananas were harvested green and engineered to ripen slowly, surviving 1 to 2 weeks in transit. Pawpaw could not meet these demands. Once ripe, it lasts only 2 to 3 days. Its skin bruises easily. It continues ripening after harvest and ferments quickly. Refrigeration does not preserve pawpaw, it degrades its texture and flavor. The reason is biological. Pawpaw evolved to be eaten by local animals, foxes, raccoons, opossums, that move seeds short distances, often less than 100 feet. It was never meant to survive a 1,000-mile journey. By the 1950s, American food was no longer fundamentally local. Pawpaw was not removed by conspiracy or neglect, but by logistics. In a refrigerated world, it simply no longer fit. By the 1960s, the transition was complete. In American grocery stores, bananas shipped from Ecuador occupied more shelf space than any local pawpaw ever had. The system had made its choice, prioritizing fruit that could endure long-distance travel over food that thrived close to home. Durability became more important than nutrition. Shelf life mattered more than nutrient density. What followed was not just a change in taste, but a quiet loss of historical continuity. For nearly 8,000 years, pawpaw had nourished indigenous communities. For over 2 centuries, it supported settlers and rural families. For decades, it sustained people moving toward freedom under the cover of forests. When pawpaw disappeared from daily diets, that living connection to American survival history faded with it. The nutritional trade-off is rarely acknowledged. Today, the average American consumes about 35 pounds of bananas each year, fruit that typically travels more than 2,000 miles under refrigeration. Pawpaw, grown locally, contains roughly twice the vitamin C, 10 times the calcium, and up to 30 times the iron of bananas, without requiring cold storage or global transport. The environmental cost is equally significant. Pawpaw trees require no synthetic pesticides. Their leaves and bark naturally deter insects. They are also the sole host plant for the zebra swallowtail butterfly. As pawpaw groves disappeared, populations of this butterfly declined as well, weakening the ecosystems tied to understory forests. Perhaps the most striking consequence is cultural amnesia. Today, most Americans under the age of 50 have never tasted a pawpaw, not because it vanished from the land, but because the system that defines food stopped making room for it. Despite its disappearance from supermarkets, pawpaw never vanished from the land. Its continued presence offers a quiet proof that North America has always been capable of producing fruit that feels tropical, rich, soft, and abundant, without importing it from elsewhere. In the 1990s, pawpaw began to return through research rather than industry. In 1990, horticulturist Kirk Pompa helped launch a dedicated pawpaw research and breeding program at Kentucky State University. The goal was not mass commercialization, but understanding the fruit on its own terms. Today, more than 27 named pawpaw varieties exist, each differing in flavor, texture, and ripening time. Pawpaw still does not fit the supermarket model, but it thrives where food is meant to be local. Farmers' markets, small orchards, and regional festivals have become its home. In 2019, the Ohio Pawpaw Festival drew more than 10,000 visitors, evidence that interest never disappeared, only access did. Plant a pawpaw tree today, and it may take 6 to 8 years to bear fruit. But once established, it can produce for decades, often 50 years or more, without chemicals or global transport. Pawpaw still grows wild across 26 states. It was never lost to the soil, only to the table. Harriet Tubman never knew refrigeration or global supply chains. She only knew survival, and in September, pawpaw was there, waiting in the forest when nothing else remained. Today, the trees are still standing, the fruit still ripens. After more than 70 years of being overlooked, pawpaw is ready to be remembered. If stories like this matter to you, stories about food that once sustained people long before trucks and warehouses, subscribe to Nature's Hidden Legacy and turn on notifications. While some fruit travels 1,000 miles to reach a plate, others are still waiting just outside the door. The next archive opens soon.